So we're in this, like, let's call it 15 minutes with the Encore, right?
Okay.
I want to unpack your Emory experience,
Sure.
right? So I know that you had options, but what was that kind of moment that said, this is the place and space for me?
It sounds very cliche, but I think it was just my conversation with Lorenzo. But we had that connection to where
Mm.
we served the same battalion together, the 101st Airborne
Wow.
Division.
Did you
And
know him?
we knew of each other's existence, but he was outgoing and,
Okay.
he was getting ready to transition out because he was heading out back to North Carolina to go get his MBA from Wake Forest. So he was outgoing command. I was a newly minted lieutenant working in HHB or HHC as a fire support officer. But I saw him. I was like, I've seen you, and we had a conversation, and just the candid and the conversation we had, very honest. I was like, okay, like this is it.
Mm.
This is the decision. It's like this guy's the one who's run the show. Like he's speaking the language that I need to hear. Then yes,
And he's in love with project management. I mean,
yeah,
there is that. And
yes,
you're PMP, right?
yeah, PMP. Yeah,
Okay. So,
that was something I was super hell bent on getting. Not disclosure. No one's asked me about my PMP after I got it. But yeah, that's kind of again, we had the same, very similar corporate path. And again, we were both artillery officers and,
Mm.
coming from the same unit. Kind of, when we talk about a cult, it's the Roxxons, the 101st Airborne Division. That is us. And again, just that bond, that brotherhood. It's like, hey, like it's a level of trust. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, this person, he knows what's good. He knows what's good and knows what's bad.
I think for me, one of the things was I went to Lipscomb for undergrad
Mm-hmm.
and actually started a master's back at Lipscomb. And I was connected to Lipscomb's mission, the people, the Christ-like mindset that was really important to me. I think where I had a big gap was finding more camaraderie in a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
The online experience was great, but like you, I travel every other week to campus. I fight the traffic. I'm on campus. I'm doing the things, and that was an experience that I wanted, tied to the type of people that I would be with. So, and I've been a consultant for a while. I know, we're looking forward to you being at hey, Deloitte, Accenture, PwC, all y'all. This is who you need to hire. Okay, I'm looking at you. I'm tagging you in this post after. But I knew a lot of people on the consultant side, and because of that, my community was broad.
Mm-hmm.
So when I think about, like, even in my own personal career network, I don't know a lot of people that are exclusively Nashville, that are exclusively just the thing that I'm about, because they worked all over. When I thought about this program, I'm like, these are my people. These are people that understand what I'm going through, that understand the balance of work and career and education and military and what it's like to have drill weekend,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And so that was really kind of unique to me. And then the campus. I mean,
It's gorgeous. And kind of speak onto that, I think, because everyone's in some level of transition.
yeah.
Albeit they were full time serving or part time capacity. But again, they're either doing it again, that like minded, that language that you speak. But something kind of goes back to my first master's program. I was one of two vets.
Mm.
And
It's
it
a
was
lonely
great.
world.
And it was by design. I wanted to truly kind of break that echo chamber. As a kid, I want to be an echo chamber of like maybe things I looked at a certain way, being in the military. I really wanted to grow and get uncomfortable. But at the same time, there's times I wish I would have had like maybe one or two other, folks that like maybe shared my background where I'm like, hey, like, how do I make sense of this? How, I'm trying to get a job. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? What's working? How are you translating? Because again, we all have like the common denominators. We have some level of military service, and we have to speak to it in these interviews.
Which is terribly difficult. I mean, it is very difficult
It's impossible.
to translate, hey, I'm a 42 alpha, or I'm a 420 alpha, or I'm a 13 alpha, I'm a 19 kilo, I'm a 19. And to have that conversation with folks who then need you to not only interview and be in the moment, but to then also educate them on it. And I think that's a gap, to be quite honest with you, in the civilian ecosystem. Less than 1% of Americans serve.
Yep.
And that seems like a small number until you look at the at the size of America, right? And then you have us, folks like us who are similarly positioned, who are trying to convey what we do to an already very small population.
Yeah, and I'll share kind of. I won't put the company on blast.
Yeah.
Who it was at the time, but
I know.
you know who you are. So I was transitioning, getting ready to get out of the Army. You start going to these job fairs, and I had a recruiter call me, and I was like, "Great, this is a great opportunity." We started talking about my resume, what I was doing, and I feel like I did what I thought was good. Now it's probably atrocious.
Judge-free zone.
But try to really modify it and adjust it, use common language to do it. And I spent 10 years in the Army. Both as a non-commissioned officer, commissioned officer. Kind of speaking to it, and then the recruiter asked me, "It's like, well, do you have leadership experience?"
Wow.
And at first I thought it was maybe like a tongue in
emergency broadcast,
kind of like a tongue in cheek. And he's like, "Yeah, we're not sure, can you tell me if you can manage a team of 5 people?" And it's kind of confused. My natural state was confusion. But it kind of clicked. It's like not everyone it's like, I was in charge of, 36, personnel, and worked at the brigade level. I was overseeing, workflows for, 1,500 personnel, and operations management, logistics planning, resourcing.
We are the original supply chain management. Okay.
Yeah. And that's like, and I just realized that there's just a gap. And again, maybe it's like, well, what am I? Then I kind of thought, it's like, well, what am I? Like, can I go back? Like, hey, Army, like, sorry.
Will y'all take me back?
Like, I made a mistake. I'm an ex-girlfriend trying to come back. Like,
I love that.
And I was, again, then I just realized it is very hard, and it's not as easy. And again, these talent acquisition, they're great, and they find good people, but again, just there's such a gap. And like looking at a resume that's been maybe polished up to make sense, but just like understanding the magnitude of what
it actually means,
what you did on a day-to-day basis.
I went to ALC, and I was talking to a friend who's civilian, went to ALC, and I came out pretty good on the list of things, like on the academic achievement pieces.
Doesn't shock me in the least, but okay.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. But I was like, okay, I got superior academic achievement, got the comment on this little thing, and I'm trying to explain to my friend about what that actually means. And probably 30 minutes into this conversation, which I went to a very detailed level, because I'm like, they're still not getting it. When you go to a many corporate trainings, right? Yes, there may be a check out the box quiz, but you're not competing in every sense of it. An ALC or a captain's career course, or OCS. These are highly competitive programs that very few people get an opportunity to go to. Furthermore, how you rank helps to drive the rest of your career.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I don't know if this exists in the world. Maybe we'll have to create it, but like a translation toolkit for organizations to understand this is the weight of the person that you are working with, that you're speaking with, that you are interviewing. And this is really what it means when you are assessing their skills, both the intrinsic value, but also what it means to say to a person like you, who was a commander that oversaw soldiers. I mean, you were a captain, what we call, you hit the railroad tracks. Okay. What does that mean? And what does it feel like in an organization when you bring that type of talent to bear?
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, is people don't really understand. It's like if I worked for you, like, you're responsible for me from when I show up in the morning, when I leave, but when you go home for the day, your time's your time.
On my own.
And I think any leader, any level of leadership, you have any personnel under you, like, no, you're responsible for that person 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, as long as they're on your roster and assigned to you. Like and it's very ridiculous, where it's like, hey, why did this person, get arrested for driving under influence? I don't know. I guess I wasn't there to pick him up from the bar to drive him home while I was out.
Why weren't you there to pick him up from the bar to drive him home?
I don't know. I don't know why they did that. I don't know how it's my fault. I told them not to do it, but
they still did. And you're still accountable.
We're on the carpet together speaking to the battalion commander, how I potentially failed them as a leader,
But you know what, though? I think that almost makes, I'm not saying better, but I'm saying that accountability, that see-through-itness, that amount of trust, that teamwork, the other thing I think it does is there's some growth that happens there. It's almost like being a parent without being a parent when you're serving. Like, this is your battle buddy. This is your airman. This is your wingman. This is your, I don't know what the Coast Guard calls it. I have no clue, but this is your sea buddy. I don't know.
Yeah.
But whatever it is for them, you're responsible for that person. You're seeing that person through. But that bond that you create especially if they, let's say a DUI situation, let's say that it never happens again, they've turned their life around. A few years from now, we laugh about it. Like, dude, you remember that time?
Yeah, it's hilarious every time. But I think the other thing too, it's because in the corporate culture, if you're likable, you're friends with everybody. Yeah, maybe they call you and check up on you, but there's people that they're soldiers that didn't particularly like the personality, or even when out there peer to peer, it's like, I don't really like you. But like at the end of the day, if it push comes to shove, if you were in danger, I would do everything I can to get you that situation. Or like in the sense, it's like, hey, like, yeah, you're not the best soldier, but like you're still our guy, and no one can, so
nobody can mess with you.
Yeah, and that's kind of the culture of that. It's like that sense of that tribal sense of community. It's truly that, and you don't really understand it until it's gone. And again, we develop great professional mentorships. Through work. I mean, there's still people I used to work for. I still talk to this day. Both military, non-military. Check on each other. We're now like friends now, and they're like my boss at one point in time.
Work friends. Now we're real friends.
Yeah, and but again, everyone just kind of does the Fred Flintstone thing. They work all day. They punch the clock, slide down a dinosaur, and like, hey, see you tomorrow. And if you're not there tomorrow, you're not there tomorrow. No one's knocking on your door. No one's calling.
If someone's late to our class, let's just talk about it for 2 seconds. We are putting out APBs.
Yeah, like
like, are you dead, or dying?
Yeah, it's like,
what's going on?
But again, that's the culture, right? Yeah. And again, but like going back to how we are with school, like if I didn't show up to class on my first as a graduate student, like maybe somebody's like, hey, like, you good? You were at? But it wouldn't be all hands on deck to try to find this person. And it's not necessarily the expectation. It's kind of like the silent agreement, kind of that we owe to one another. Yeah. Like, hey, like, look, we understand, what right looks like, and we want the best for everybody. So it'd be almost like a dereliction of duty if we weren't like, hey, like, are you okay? Or, hey, just so you know, you missed this.
Yep.
Not a big deal. I don't have to do it. No one told me to do it, but
we just know.
It's like, hey, like, I'm throwing you a bone, try to help you out. We all have things come up, especially, if you're working full time and doing this, it's academically rigorous. It really is. They did nothing to water this thing down. That I could assure you. And people were like, it's like MBA light. No, there's nothing light about it. If anything, we're getting
full on abuse.
We're getting it. Oh, you get it for an hour and 15 minutes. Well, we get it for 4 hours and 15 minutes. Like, and then we're expected to execute and do all the things that you've done in the same amount of time. So, and I like that was the thing that drew me to Emory. It's their commitment, their commitment to academics. It's like, hey, we're not going to hand this to you.
Excellent.
We're not going to hand it to you.
My grandmother used to say a phrase: "You must come in through the door."
Yes.
Everybody must come in through the door. So whether you got here by scholarship, you got here through military, you got here in the special program, you got here through whatever, it doesn't matter who your mama, daddy, sister, cousin is. Everybody has to come in through the door. So we're all putting in the work, and I can't wait for all of us to graduate. So,
yeah, it's going to be really rewarding. And I think part of the process is, people, either do career pivots or get their jobs. It's like, it's going to be great just kind of cheering everybody on. It's going to be like, that to me is fulfilling. Is people was like, hey, I got out of the military after 25 years. Got a great job. Nothing I would have expected to get lined up for if it wasn't for me betting on myself and putting myself in this opportunity and being with a great the platform of academics that we are privileged to have it's world-class, top-notch.
Love it. All right, y'all. Well, that concludes our Encore. Thanks for hanging out for this additional, 15 minutes 2.0 version of this. Shout out to Major General Matt Smith and Lorenzo Suarez over at Emory University and all of the team that's supporting them, especially Shanita.
She's a real one.
Yeah,
she keeps it. She's the backbone. She's the backbone of MBV.
I love her. All right, see y'all later. Bye bye. All right, we did great.
Yeah, thanks, man.